Hi, everyone. Welcome to our next chapter. It's chapter 10, and this chapter is going to be about line plots. And this is 10-1, and it's a short chapter. Um, we're just talking about line plots. Line plots are a type of graph. It's just a graph that shows you a certain set of data. And on the first um, table or graph that you see to your left is about candy bars. And the first thing you'll notice is that we have a title, which is candy bars. And the bottom, along the x-axis, we have something called the number of candy bars, which means that all of those numbers, 0, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 8, represent the number of candy bars that you can have. You can have one candy bar, you can have two candy bars, you can have three candy bars. On the left side, you'll notice it says number of students. The X's represent the number of students. So I can see that one student has 0 candy bars. I can see that 3 students have 3 candy bars. So the X's are the most important thing. That's how we read the graph. So we're going to work with this one for a minute just so I can kind of make sure you understand exactly how to read a line plot. So if I wanted to know how many students had 2 candy bars, I would look here at the 2. And since I see one X above the 2, that means that one student had 2 candy bars. Okay. If I wanted to know how many students had 5 candy bars, well, I would go to 5 candy bars and I would see that, wow, 1, 2, 3, 4 students. 4 students had 5 candy bars. Were there any students that had 4 candy bars? And you'll notice there's a 0. There are no X's above 4, which means no students had 4 candy bars. If I get too close to the picture, it'll erase, so I can't get too close. Okay, so let's see what other questions you might be asked. Well, what was the difference between the number of the students that had 5 candy bars versus the number of students that had 6 candy bars? So if I wanted to know the difference between 5 candy bars and 6 candy bars, well, I would have to find out my information first. How many kids have 5 candy bars? Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. How many kids have 6 candy bars? That's 1, 2. So I got a 4 and I got a 2. So I would do 4 minus 2, and the difference would be 2. Okay? Let me show you another, I'll show you exactly where they kind of get this information from. Here is an example. I'll insert another graph here. Here is one with a data table. And I'll let you kind of look at that because that might make a little bit more sense. It's kind of relatively simple. Let's look at this one. Move this over so I can. Okay. In this particular data table, okay, let's take a look at this one. All right. Now we have the data and the line plot. Here's the data table where the information comes from. The tallies represent the number of children who have a certain number of brothers or sisters. So 2 children have 0 brothers and sisters. 3 children have 1 brother or sister. 5 children have 2 brothers or sisters. 2 children have 3 brothers and sisters, and 1 child has 4 brothers and sisters. And then we took the information and made a graph. Okay, so they have, the number of children's brothers and sisters, and then which students have them. As you see on the graph, there were 5 students that had 2 brothers and sisters. So if you look here above the number 2, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There was 1 student that had 4 brothers and sisters. So above the 4, you see 1. Okay, so the X's represent the data, and then you have whatever information you have. Okay, so we obviously are dealing more with fractions because that's what we just came from. So I will show you how to make a data table, and then we'll kind of read one. So let's first read one more with fractions, okay? And then I will show you, and I'll show you how to make one from scratch, which is kind of the next lesson, but I think it helps you understand it a little bit more. So let's put one more in here if my Chromebook ever loads. Okay. Okay, this is how much do kids help around the house. Let me see if I can get this centered all the way. Okay, so I can ask you how many hours, and at the bottom you see the information, hours of chores done per day. How many kids do no hours of chores or zero? Well, you would look to the zero and say, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4 kids do not help around the house for any amount of time. How many kids help around the house for a half hour a day? Well, I would go to, here's the half hour mark. Well, I would count up. How many kids help for a half hour a day? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids. Sometimes I like to write the number above it so I can see what I'm working with. I know 4 kids don't do anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 kids work for a quarter of an hour or 15 minutes. I have 10 kids that work for a half hour. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 kids that work for 45 minutes or 3/4 of an hour. I have 1, 2, 3 kids that work for an hour a day. And I have 1 child who works for over an hour and 15 minutes. Okay, so that's how you generally read a line plot. Okay, you have the information on the bottom, and then the X tell you how many of that number. In this case, how many kids do certain number of chores per hour. It depends on what the graph is, but the X's represent the data. The X's represent the data. So let's make one from scratch. I have some information here. Let's just say we have orders for, how about we do orders for cheese? We have a big cheese sale going on. Miss Capozzo has started her own cheese company, and she's putting together different orders for cheese. Okay, so if I have, and I'm just going to make the data table. Okay, I'm going to make the data table. Excuse my kids, it sounds like World War III up there. And here's what I have. I have the amount. Okay, here's going to be my amount. I'll abbreviate that, and it's going to be the orders. Okay, so let's put in the amounts first. Okay, I can have 1/4 pounds of cheese. I can have a half pound. I can have 3/4, and I can have 1. And I'll even add on, and that's good for now. We just do it simple. Okay, and then let's look at if we had. Okay, there were 2 that ordered 1/4 pound of cheese. We had 4 that ordered a half pound of cheese. We have 3 that ordered 3/4 pounds of cheese, and then we had 2 that ordered a pound. So if I'm making my line plot from scratch, first thing I'm going to do, and let's maybe make a little bit more of a solid line here, is I'm going to make my graph. Okay, I'm going to start with the smallest number that I have, which is 1/4. Okay, and the biggest number that I have is 1. Okay, and I'm just going to break it up. I know half goes here, and I know my 3/4 goes here. Okay, and this should be probably a little bit closer together. Let's tighten this up a little bit. Let's redo this. Sorry, guys. Let's make this a little bit better. Okay, so we have 1/4. We have 1/2. We have 3/4, and we have 1. Okay, so now I want to put my graph together. Well, I'm just going to look. How many kids ordered 1/4 pound of cheese? Well, I see that I have 2 kids ordered 1/4 pounds of cheese, so I'm going to put 2 X's. How many kids ordered a half pound? There were 4 kids that ordered a half pound. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many kids ordered 3/4 of a pound? Well, I see 3. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3. And how many kids ordered 1 pound? I'm going to put 2. 1, 2. Okay, so at the bottom, we would label our graphs. We would put the pounds for our amount. Okay, and then we would have going up, we would have our orders, and this is the title could be Capozzo cheese. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of practice. I think it's kind of straightforward and simple, but if you have a little bit of trouble, we'll work on it together. Just let us know. I'll do a video for each lesson, so it's more simple. Okay. All right, guys. If you have any questions, you know how to get in touch with us. Talk to you soon.